I get it. You've probably spent a few minutes scrolling through endless listings, reading specs that read like a textbook, and you're still wondering if any of these machines will actually fit into the little shop you have on the side of the garage. You don't want to drop cash on a tool that sits half-assembled in a corner because it's either too big for your projects or too flimsy for the jobs you actually need to finish. That hesitation is real, especially when you're looking at something as specific as a pipe beveling machine. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. Let's walk through what the Sawyer Mfg saddle machine really brings to the table, where it shines, and where you might want to keep looking. First off, the category itself, open-frame pipe bevelers, has a reputation for being a compromise between heavy-duty hydraulic stations and the more portable, handheld cutters that can leave a rough edge. If you've ever tried to get a clean 45-degree bevel on a 6-inch steel pipe with just a chop saw, you know the difference a purpose-built machine can make. The Sawyer model is built around a cast aluminum frame, which feels surprisingly solid for its weight, and it's engineered for precise, reliable cuts. That precision comes from the 3-sized spacer system, a clever little feature that lets you line up pipes from 6 to 12 inches in outer diameter without having to fumble with custom adapters. Now, who actually benefits from that design? If you're a small to medium HVAC or plumbing contractor, a welding hobbyist, or even a DIY builder tackling a residential remodel, the machine fits nicely into a limited space and still delivers the kind of bevel that a professional welder would expect. Imagine you're prepping stainless steel pipe for a bathroom remodel. You need a consistent bevel on a 10-inch piece so the weld bead sits flush and looks clean. With the open frame design, you can pop the pipe into the saddle, slide the appropriate spacer into place, and lock it down in a matter of minutes. The whole process is fast enough that you won't lose a day on a job that otherwise would have required a subcontractor's shop. On the other side of the coin, if you run a large-scale industrial shop that ships out dozens of pipe assemblies a day, the Sawyer machine might feel a little underpowered. The open frame, while convenient, doesn't have the same mass and damping you'd find on a floor-mounted hydraulic beveler. That means when you're cutting thicker, heavier steel or trying to keep a high cadence, you might notice a bit more vibration, and you'll have to be more deliberate about resetting the pipe after each cut. Also, the 612-inch OD range is a hard limit. Anything larger, say a 14-inch conduit for a municipal project, simply won't fit, and you'd need to look at a larger, probably more expensive system. Let's break down the practical strengths a little more. The fast setup is not just a marketing line. The open frame really does mean you don't have to wrestle with a lot of bolts and brackets before you can start cutting. You can take it out of the crate, assemble the basic frame, and have it ready to run in under 10 minutes. That kind of time saving adds up, especially if you're a one-person operation juggling multiple jobs. The precision you get from the built-in spacer system is also a big win. Because the spacers are sized for specific pipe diameters, you get repeatable positioning, which translates into uniform bevel angles without having to measure each time. In the field, that reduces the chance of rework, which is a hidden cost you don't see on the price tag. Durability is another point that comes up when you look at the construction. Cast aluminum isn't as heavy as steel, but it resists corrosion and stands up to the occasional drop in a busy shop. The fact that the whole machine is 100% made in the USA also hints at a tighter quality control loop compared to some overseas-produced equivalents. For a tool that you'll likely be using a handful of times a week, that kind of build confidence matters, especially when you're cutting high-grade steel where any wobble can ruin a joint. What about the downsides that matter after the purchase? The most obvious is the size limitation. If you ever need to bevel a pipe outside the 612-inch window, you'll have to either get an adapter, which adds complexity and potential misalignment, or buy a second machine. That can erode the cost advantage you originally saw. Another subtle drawback is the lack of an integrated coolant or dust collection system. The machine relies on your shop's existing setup for managing metal shavings, which is fine if you already have a good extraction system, but it can become messy in a tighter space. Finally, because it's a manual machine, the quality of each cut still depends on your own steadiness and attention. It's not a set-and-forget CNC unit. you still need to watch the pipe as the blade engages, especially on harder alloys.